Why?
Um, hold on. I think let me load this up here. I'll tell you why in a moment.
Is it live on my Facebook also?
It's live on mine.
How do I get it live on mine?
If you want to go look for it real quick, you can share it to yours. And I tagged you in it, so it should be live on yours anyways.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that. And so while you're doing that, I'll give you a little background of how this started and why this is so perfect. So a little over a year ago, my good friend Dustin Moon and I, we've known each other for about 4 or 5 years. We've done a lot of personal development stuff together. And so about once a month, we would just call each other and have like when ant turns elephant conversations.
Oh, wait. Ryan
started. Yeah.
Hold on. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never gone live like this.
Okay, cool. So mute the Facebook.
Oh, is that
mute that because we're about a 10-second delay on Facebook.
Okay.
So about once a month we would just call each other and have like.
So let me mute.
Yeah, mute that conversation.
Oh, Ryan
started. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I don't even know how to mute it. Okay, here we go.
There's a little
that
speaker. Okay, cool.
But how do I put it on my Facebook?
So there should be a share button somewhere underneath there. And then just share it. Public. Yeah.
Thank you for teaching me this, Ryan.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So
please finish telling me.
Yeah, so a little over a year ago, my buddy Dustin and I, we would talk about once a month, and we'd have these crazy conversations about the multiverse or the molecular structures of acorns or whatever we would talk about. And so we'd be like, we should have these conversations on Facebook Live for a couple of reasons. One, to practice publicly speaking, yet ignoring the fact that we're in public at the same time, and just talk about whatever we want to talk about. So in the beginning, we call that do weird shit. My business is called First Wakeups. So this has evolved into the First Wakeups Unscripted. And so what I would love to talk about today first, because I think that it's awesome, is that you and I have never spoken ever before this.
Yeah.
Which I think is rad, number one.
Yeah.
And the second thing, how am I for volume?
I could hear you pretty good.
Okay, cool. So the other thing is that you had an appointment right now, and I was supposed to be talking to somebody else, and they both canceled. So I love to kind of Quentin Tarantino things backwards to find out how we both ended up here on having this conversation right now, because I think that it's like kind of fucking magical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was supposed to be talking to a buddy who I've known for about 7 years, and he was in Austin. He's driving from Austin to Dallas. He's like, hey man, I'll be in the car, but I won't be able to be on video. I was like, well, it's kind of, let's reschedule. And so then I did that post. So my guy canceled on me. Who canceled on you?
A guy that I met at an event that I just went to, Influencers 2019 in San Diego. And we were supposed to talk about this podcast idea that we want to maybe collaborate on. And he I guess he had a client that he had to work with, so he canceled on me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm open. I just happened to see your post right when you posted it too.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw one of your posts for the first time, I think yesterday.
Oh, really?
And I honestly don't even remember. It was your 2016, 2019 post that I thought was really fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
And I was like, who's this? And then you messaged me today. I was like, so I'm looking on there, and then I'm looking at like our mutual friends. I was like, this is just these people who, you become acquaintances with, and then you whatever. So it's just hilarious. So I'm interested. Do you have anything else from that you find particularly fascinating? I just think it's cool that we're having this conversation now. So.
Well, I know that I've been seeing your posts and I've been liking your posts, and I don't say that.
Oh, okay.
To many people. Like, I actually agree with your mindset. Actually, there's a lot of things I agree on, but a lot of times I feel people just say things but have never experienced it. With your posts, I feel not only do you not only are you speaking what I believe is true, but you've actually experienced it. So I really value that in people. So
That's amazing feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Mhm.
Cool. Tell me about your book. I see it. It's there, propped up right behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got it right here too, just in case.
Cool.
It
Yeah,
was,
and the website's in the comments, or it's in the description if anybody's interested too. So tell me about it.
yeah. So it was just released, and honestly, this was not supposed to be a book. I just kind of isolated myself from like buying things, socializing, um, overindulging in anything, and spent a lot of time in nature. Pretty much all throughout the day in nature. I still slept in like a normal house, but
Right.
throughout the day, from morning till evening, I was in nature. Isolated myself and meditated a lot. And then so I got insight. And then that insight, I would just like write down. I had all these notebooks on me everywhere I went. And I'd be like, oh my God, I looked like a crazy girl for 2 years because I was just like writing everything down. And then I actually kind of started applying that information in my life and completely changed everything about me. I mean, the essential soul, I guess, if you want to say, is still here, but now
Yeah.
much more happy and much more creative and much more abundant. So
Much more uncovered.
much more uncovered.
Yeah.
I uncovered
Much more
all.
uncovered. Yeah.
You know,
So I think I love that you said the essential soul's still there. Of course it is. It's just, it's not hidden by a bunch of bullshit. It's not hidden by all that stuff in 2016 that was on your post.
exactly.
So no, I love that. That's cool. Where you're in California, right? I'm guessing. Where did you do this experiment or whatever it's called?
So I spent a lot of time in Yosemite National Park in California.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in the hills that surrounds the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and Sausalito.
Okay.
In just random parks. Any park that I've never been to, I would go there and just spend all day. And more that had water. So I was really interested in places that had all elements. Fire I didn't have, but I wanted to go to a place that had the water element.
Well, if you're outside, the sun's definitely fiery.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. For
Never
sure.
thought about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cool. What was the big catalyst that decided to get you to do this? Speaking of experiences, if you care to share.
Because I was doing everything right on paper, and to the outside world, I was successful, and so I would probably be happy. To the outside world, I had like a nice car, I had a nice job, I supported myself, I made decent money, I had a college degree, I had friends, I was pretty, I wasn't too overweight, so like I was just on the outside world, I was just normal, but I knew internally that I wanted more out of life and I wanted more out of myself, but I didn't know how to get that because I've never seen it around me. It wasn't something I knew how to do. I think it's much easier when we have mentors around us, right? That we could follow or copy. And I really didn't have that. So I just kind of found it in myself without knowing what I was doing. But actually, really, what made me go into nature the first time is I started doing research about religion versus science. In particular, I was looking at Jesus and Buddha, and on the side, I was looking at Einstein and Tesla. And the one dominant advice that both sides gave was
Get
spend
outside.
time.
Yeah.
So I was
Get
like,
outside.
because I'm not necessarily I'm not religious. I'm not religious, nor am I as this science person, because I think science is very limited. I like to see beyond science.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do the one thing that both sides are doing and I'll try it. And just, it kind of went from there. And then pretty soon,
love that.
Oh my God, I can't live in reality anymore. It was like, I was almost too far gone a little bit, like in the abstract world, I guess, or the.
No, for sure. No, that makes perfect sense. Cause, it's really interesting. So one of the things, and this is a conversation I have with clients, and Dustin and I would talk about the same thing too, that I'm a firm believer that this desk or the laptop that I'm looking at, I'm a firm believer that it's a projection of my reality. Yet I'm also a firm believer that I'm manipulating it right now at the same time. So like, it's a really interesting balance. And for me, I think this reality that we're projecting and experiencing simultaneously that's like one of those fail safes. Like, I'm pretty sure that you're a projection of me in some way, shape, or form. Yet I'm also talking to you, and you're talking to me, and you're telling me stuff about nature that, and like the Ford, the Tesla. I never heard that before. It makes sense, but I never heard that before, like collectively together. When you started talking about the Buddha and Jesus, like they both have 40-day, 40-night stories in the wilderness, both of them, and we're both tormented by demons and devils, both collectively in their forest or nature story or whatever it was. So, how long ago did you come back?
Well, so for a while I was living in reality, but mentally and spiritually, I couldn't connect myself as almost like a human. I know that sounds crazy, but I could no longer like go to restaurants or a store because I would get so angry. I would go to a store and I would see I would see a store full of products that gave band-aids to us instead of healing us internally. So I was so mad that we were creating this stuff and feeding each other. So it was so hard for me to even go buy a pair of shoes. I literally was walking around with shoes with holes in it. I mean, massive holes because I refused to buy a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I went to this 10-day meditation retreat where you meditate for 10 hours a day for 10 days. So 100 hours in 10 days. You don't talk and you don't make eye contact and you don't touch anybody else. And you don't exercise, you don't journal, you don't you just literally meditate, and you eat very little. I did that for 10 days. And when I got back, it grounded me and I was able to live in both worlds. And so now I'm in a point where I could own that I am someone who marries spirit with business. Whereas before I couldn't own that.
I love that. I'm stoked
Yeah.
about it, actually. That's
Yeah.
really badass.
Yeah.
That's really badass.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like
go
to
ahead.
me,
Keep going.
don't know each other and we've never talked. To me, it sounds like you are spiritual, or you.
Oh, 100% yes.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, so I think the funny thing that I say, and this is just one of my like coachy / dad jokes, is that I believe that there's absolutely something, but whether it's God or the universe, the Matrix, or a Bob Dylan song, like I don't know. And I don't really care at the same time, because regardless of what it is, of any of those four or any of the other infinite possibilities, it doesn't change what's going on for me.
Yeah.
Like, source is being delivered from source. And a really cool quote that I learned from my good friend Tara Long also was that I am part of that which holds the entire illusion, yet never reveals itself at the same time. So I come from source. I am source. I come from the universe. I am the universe. I come from God. I am God. Whatever it is, like whatever you want to say. So that's definitely one of those things. Yet I also really, really firmly believe, just like the laptop thing, that I am here in this place to experience something. And so just like you, to be able to find a way to bridge those two things. And I come from a very hyper masculine upbringing. So like I was in the Navy for 20 years and I played ice hockey growing up, and like locker room mentality was what I lived with. And then there was just, there was just kind of like that soul thing that you're talking about. There was always something there that wanted to kind of peek behind the curtain, like the wizard, and just kind of dig into our imaginations and dreams. And is this real? Is that real? Is this different? Is it different? And to me, the answer is yes and no, like simultaneously at the same time. It just depends on the context of which you want to view it as. And, because I think for me, like in my coaching, one of the first lessons I still talk about is I talk about our lizard brain, and I talk about inside the cave and outside the cave. And there's food in here and the saber tiger's out there. And now the food's gone. And now you're going to be forced to go. And it's just, so I start with a very physical, grounded, like in this space. And then somewhere 7, 8, 9 weeks later, we're talking about the multiverse and how you and me, specifically Danette and Ryan, just meeting now for the first time, have had probably some sort of amazing and intimate relationship for 40 years in some other world. And how they're both true. And they're also totally not, because I just made that up. So it's just like, and to me, it's just like, yeah. And when we can have talks about stuff like that, it's like, why am I worrying about my housekeeper costing $30 an hour? Like, I don't care. I just don't, I just know I don't want to do that. I'd rather be here talking to you and having this conversation. So if that's spiritual, I guess, if it's not like, I don't know, it's an interesting spiritual. I had this client, and for like over 3 sessions, we were talking about like, what's my definition of spiritual?
Yeah.
And my definition of spiritual has something to do with integrity, but that integrity being acknowledging, listening to, and putting into action the messages I believe I'm receiving right here from who the fuck knows.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
so that's my spiritual journey, and that's my current definition of it, is taking those messages I'm receiving and filtering out the stuff that is most valuable to me and putting that into action in this physical space, in this 3-dimensional space. And then pretending to have any idea whatsoever is on the other side. And in our very, very limited language and context that we have here, we can talk about these things. We can make up all sorts of cool stories. And like, man, this is telling me that I'm onto something. Yet at the same time, to pretend to know, I think is arrogant, number one. And fun for conversations like this, yet not always applicable in the shoe store, as you put it. So so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great. For me, I remember the first time that I felt like I knew what spirituality was, or God, or something bigger than me, something bigger than I could, something more important than I could physically see, was it was one day I was walking outside. I was leaving my house to go into nature, and just for a split second, I felt such a strong presence of love that I've never felt stronger in my life. You could add up the love my mom has for me, my sisters have for me, anybody, add them up and multiply it by 20 billion for my whole life, and it would never, ever felt as strong as that moment of love that I felt. And I was walking across the street when I felt that. And it was nothing was going on, but it changed my world upside down, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's all love. Everything is love. And I knew at that moment I was capable of feeling that feeling forever. But I'm not doing it. But I know we're capable of it. And meaning that strong feeling like that at all times. And I'm not doing it, but I constantly work on it, because I know at that moment I knew I was capable of it. And from that point on, I decided that no matter what happens, no matter how hurt I get, no matter what circumstances I commit and dedicate to myself. I dedicate and commit my life to myself, meaning I am going to completely serve that inner awareness that I have. And to serve it, I must treat myself like I'm on a pedestal. If I treat myself on a pedestal, I'm automatically going to treat you on a pedestal, and everybody else. And so that's what guides me now.
Me and you are on the exact same page.
Yeah.
We're on the exact same page.
It's so cool.
And so, I was raised in church, raised Seventh-day Adventist, and I got out of that kind of religion probably around 16. It was just kind of like, I started working on the weekends, so I had like an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
And then my mom's a pastor, and she's doing great work with that. Like, she's like fighting the power for women within the church and shit. So like, I'm super stoked. Mom, you're badass. And but for me, the farther I get away from that, like that structured, dogmatic kind of thing, and kind of just paying attention to, okay, 2 people in this world had to cancel for me and Danette to have this conversation tonight. And so those are the moments when I feel like, okay, something else is going on. Like, it's just stuff like that. So the more that I pay attention to little stuff like that, but at the same time be like, okay, cool. Like, what else had to happen for you had to go to that event and meet that guy and then have this podcast idea? Like, those things had to happen too for you to end up right here, right now. And we could go back years and years and years and years and years. You had to spend 2 years in wilderness or nature every single day for us to be right here in this thing, for that yellow book to exist. And so it's like, the more I pay attention to stuff like that, the more easier it is for me to like coach people and to just be like, hey, what should I do? I don't know. Where'd you come from? They're like, oh, from here. Oh, just keep going to there. Like, it's like, yeah, it's already set up. Like the signs are there. It's all that for me. And the more I remember having a conversation about a guy he was Baptist or something. He was deeply religious in like a Christianity sort. And he was like, oh, and I was like, well, how do you know? And he's like, I've felt God, like that, that feeling. But for him was in Christianity. And I was like, that's awesome. I'm stoked for you. I really am. I was like, I haven't had that before. And the moment that I started telling people the truth, the moment I started doing stuff like this and just having conversations about weird multiversic stuff and, putting myself on the pedestal. So you say, that's when I started feeling it. That's when and it was like here. And it feels like it's splitting me open in the most amazing way ever. Yeah. And so and the more I do that, the more I lean into weird stuff like that. As in Dustin and I used to call this do weird shit. The more I was like, okay, to deny it seems kind of, what was the word I used? Arrogant, yet to pretend to know what it is sounds just as arrogant to me as well. So it's just like, I just want to be in it because I know I'm part of it. Playing my miniature role, like based under the lens and the magnification that we're currently viewing it under,
Yes.
And so, right on.
I think you said it perfectly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was perfect.
What's go for it. What's up?
What do you think about astrology?
I think astrology is super good, but you got to look at it under the context too. To me, astrology is not necessarily different than Myers-Briggs because it's a cool study. And the thing is that Aries, I'm an Aries. I was born on April 8th. Are you an Aries as well?
No, but for some reason, Aries and I are so attracted to each other.
Yeah, it's
but
good.
Fire and I'm air. So fire and air. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes it bigger. So one of the things that I think about astrology is that those dates have been pretty rock solid for thousands and thousands of years. Like the dates that they've picked, like April, what is it? March 20th to April 19th for Aries. Something like that.
Yet, just based on the way the galaxy works and how accurate yet inaccurate our calendars are, there is such a wiggle where those stars are slowly moving. I don't know if that's accounted for. I'm sure super astrologists maybe do. So, but it's just like stuff like, I think it's really good to take it with a grain of salt. And there can be some revelations in there. I think they can give you your next clue, but I think that people can get just as wrapped up in it as they can Christianity or atheism or anything else. So yeah, I think it's totally dope. I think it's, and I stand on this little platform and I look at the moon like as it comes over this every night. And but to me, again, it's just kind of proof again that there's something bigger going on. Yeah. And, but I also have an app on my iPhone that shows me where all the stars are. So again, in my 3-dimensional world. And so, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, so I've been studying it for 12 years. I don't read any horoscopes, the daily horoscopes that come out. I've never read any of those. But what I have read is about the elements of the zodiac sign, because I do believe that everything could be kind of understood more through elements, because there's 4 elements on Earth, and you think about how they relate to each other. And then you could also think about the elements inside of us and how they relate to each other. Well, then why doesn't it make sense if elements, if astrology suggests that there's an element in each person, how they would relate to each other? So I've been paying attention to that, to the relationship between people and their elements. And from what I use astrology for is a resource for self-awareness. And it's been a great tool for me. I mean, it has helped me discover more strengths and weaknesses within myself, but it's also made me understand how I could relate with other people. For example, you're an Aries. I know, and this is not always consistent with everybody. It depends on where you're in your life. But, it just kind of gives you like this broad foundation on how to interact with yourself and with others. So that's all I use it for. So like, for example, as an Aries, I know traditionally I'm able to speak my crazy ideas to you and you are going to appreciate them.
I'm going to dump gas on them is what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Exactly. I understand that. Because like I said, you are fire and I'm air. So together, what does that create? But look, if you look at someone who comes from a land element, who's land and air, how do they help each other? They really don't. So they just kind of pass each other by. The air just kind of passes the land by, and the land is more worried about how to stay solid. So I know for a Capricorn, for example, maybe I should hold back a little bit on my ideas so you don't just so that we could relate in a different way. You know, maybe my crazy ideas aren't the best way for us to build a foundation, like a connection in the beginning. So that's how I use technology. But the cool thing is I've gone to events. There's this one in particular I'm talking about. There was 5 girls on panel. They were talking about different topics. There was a girl next to me and I told her, hey, I could guess their zodiac signs. And I got 3 out of 5 right by just how they dress and what they talk about. So that's kind of
interesting. It is. Well, it keeps you in that broad thing. It really does. One of the things I'm super interested lately, I just read this book by Malcolm Gladwell called Talking to Strangers. Did you read that one yet? Or have you read any of his books? It's fucking fascinating.
Really?
Yeah. And one of the things, I'll give a couple key points without spoiling the whole book, but one of the things that the Aries thing, like you said, is super important, but you also mentioned like where they are on their journey is something that I don't think a lot of people who are like really bought in, like hardcore astrologers or hardcore Christians or hardcore whomever, right? Mm-hmm. They have this ideology that they're bought into, yet they don't consider the path behind or where the person stepped or where they come or the events that were in their lives or the trauma that they've undertaken, the trauma that they're still carrying, the trauma they've overcome, et cetera, because it's so important. And we're talking about stuff that happened 10 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 10 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's interesting and I think it's really important to take all that stuff into context as well. Yet in the book though, it's also literally impossible. And me and you were looking at each other, even though it's across the screen, it's impossible to know what the other person's thinking or feeling. And the thing about the book though is it's impossible to ever really know, even if the person's like, I feel awesome, because you never know if I'm full of shit or if I'm being honest. And there's always 2% of my thing, and I'm talking about in some multiverse where you and I have this intimate 40-year relationship. Like, what am I really thinking? Is it gross? Is it cool or whatever? It's just one of those things that's just so hard to really pin down and really lock down. But I love that you said, Dick, yes, it is a very good tool. It's a very good general foundation. And that, but I think experiencing each other is also just probably about the most important thing you can really do.
Yeah.
To really help each other out. So that's why this is so awesome.
Yes.
I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm glad that you posted that. It's so rad. And you had mentioned this, when little things like that happen, it makes you just be aware that there's something out there so much bigger than you, because we couldn't make this happen if we tried. If we,
no,
the stuff that happens to us, we couldn't make happen. Mm-hmm. Even if we tried. But there's certain things that we don't even think about that are going to happen to us, but they happen, and we're not capable. The human mind, the human potential, the way it is now, the way we live now, is not capable of making reality happen to us the way it happens.
No, it's far too complex.
Yeah,
it's way too complex.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to. I'm so glad that there's somebody else doing most of this shit for us. I'm so glad. It's like all I have to do is post on this thing. It's like, yeah, we'll send you your person. Like, don't even worry about it. And I think it's like one of the things that I just, it's kind of like you walking across the street or like saying, oh, I'm going to do this research about Tesla, Einstein, Jesus, and the Buddha. And you're like, oh, this nature thing. Fuck it. Let's go outside. Like, there's my clue. Let's go take action on that. I think that's an inspired choice. And most people, again, a very general thing, like, that's how do I figure my life out? Go do that. Like, what's been coming up lately? Go do that thing. Oh, nature's been coming up lately. All right, cool. Go to Yosemite. It's down the street. You know? Yeah. You live in San Francisco or in the Bay Area? Where do you live at?
I just moved to Stockton, California.
Okay, cool.
It's like
LA-ish, right?
No, it's more towards it's about hour away from Sacramento, an hour away.
Okay, cool.
It's right in the middle.
On. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My mom used to date this guy from Stockton.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting.
I wonder if he's my neighbor now.
I have no idea. We lived in Washington when we knew him, so I don't know.
We're in Washington
Yeah.
State.
Washington State. Yeah. I went to high school in Tacoma.
Okay. I know
Yeah.
in Kingston when I was a kid.
Kingston. That's like on the sound. There's a ferry there. Kingston
Yes,
Ferry.
I remember the
Yeah,
ferry.
yeah. Yeah. It's a
You
cool
know,
spot.
do you visualize your future?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I do.
how
Yeah.
often?
I'm more, I'd say probably every day in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that you'd bring up the meditation thing, because the meditation was something when I first got into this. I think I hired my first coach, like, and got out of my broness and got into my more spiritual side,
Hmm.
little almost 5 years ago. And in the beginning, I meditated a lot, did a lot of meditation. And then lately, I've been getting out of it. And I remember reading a book sometime last year that talked about micro meditations. So I've been like really hardcore about these micro 10 to 60-second breathing, feeling, like really kind of reattaching and then going. So I'm a
Hmm.
huge fan of going and doing things.
Uh-huh.
But you bring up that 10-day retreat, sounds like something I'd be super interested in. And one of the guys in my mastermind is like a hardcore meditator. I just set some time up with too, that we're going to go through some of that stuff. And but as far as the visualizing stuff too, and another guy in my mastermind, he does like a 3 to 5 year visualization, where I'm like really short term. I'm a big fan of like the short term stuff. And just for whatever reason, because it just serves me best. And in my coaching, it's all short term. I used to coach for longer, but now I just do like 90-day stuff. And it's like,
Mhm.
let's get stuff moving now, because to me, that's the stuff that makes yeah, we can make plans for 5 years from now, but what are we doing right now? Because
Mhm.
we're going to get hit by a truck later today. And I want to make sure that it's as dope as possible before then. So it's interesting. I don't know. Why do you ask? I'm interested.
Because for some reason, when I visualize my house, like this house that I want, where I imagine having a family in, for some reason it looks like Washington, but I don't really want to
Mm,
necessarily live in Washington. So, but it always pops up. It's this white house with big windows, and it's surrounded by big, dark green trees, but there's an ocean. The ocean is like right below, and I don't know any other place. I don't know any place in California where there's the ocean but a forest. The only place I've ever been to that has that is Washington.
New Zealand.
Okay, maybe New
I mean,
Zealand.
we can all work with that. New Zealand's pretty badass. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure Washington, man, yeah, that just totally describes Washington.
I
You
know,
know, it totally describes that.
and it's not even that. It's almost like that visual uh, chose me. I didn't necessarily
Hmm.
choose that visual.
Of
Just
course
like,
it shows you.
isn't it crazy
Yeah,
when
of
that
course
happens?
it did.
Sometimes
Um, I
when I,
don't think it's crazy at all. Like, I do my best to like, I'll find myself being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this thing with the net today, and I've never met her before, and yeah, two people canceled. Is it crazy? No, we're supposed to talk for some reason today. Like,
yeah,
there's
yes,
a reason, and we may not figure that out today. And you might not figure out why the White House chose you until you actually move into it. And then you
correct.
figure it out. It's kind of like the nature thing. Like, oh, this nature thing's coming up right now. Like, why is this coming up? I don't know. Let's go find out. So yeah, I don't know, but that's the only thing. You ever heard of Whidbey Island,
No,
Washington? It's like, you ever see the movie The Ring? Like,
yes.
yeah, like that creepy bridge they cross, and at the spot, that's all Whidbey Island, or at least it's
Oh,
supposed to be, with the
yeah.
forests and all those um yeah, so I don't know there, but Oregon could probably work that out as well. There's something about the Pacific Northwest. I would totally move back. My wife's been in Hawaii for 16 years, so we're probably going to stay here forever. And it's just because the weather's always nice. I'm just sweaty, so it's just, I'm ready for some actual winter. But she's not going to do it, and my kids will probably die too. So yeah,
Let me ask you, what
go for
zodiac
it.
your wife?
She is what is her birthday's today? Yeah, her birthday's today.
What
She's
was
a
that?
Sagittarius.
No, she is
No,
a Libra, which is
she's a
air.
Libra. Yeah, she's air.
You
Hmm.
see, air and fire.
She fires me up too. She's
Yeah,
so, and it's all right.
and I bet you warm
Astrology.
her up. I bet you warm her up.
Hmm.
She could be cold alone. She's air. She's always just by herself, just kind of flowing freely. But you're something solid, but also warm, and you warm her up while she sparks you up. See
That's
the elements?
interesting. No,
Yeah.
I get it. I get you. I
Yeah.
see what you're doing, Danette. You don't
Yeah.
have to sell me on this.
My
It's good stuff.
fiance is also an Aries.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, and this is why I say it's crazy, because I'm still blown away at the magic of life, the magic that happens to us every single day, even in the worst circumstances, is so magical and beautiful that I'm just still like, is that crazy? That's wild. But yet I know it's not, because that's life. But
Yeah.
I wrote down, I was like, I had the worst, as you saw in my post about finding, I try to find myself in men, in relationships, in love. I thought all my worth was held in a man's hands. I was waiting for a man to come rescue me and save me from myself, really. I didn't know that, but you know,
Right.
and so when I realized I'm going to start dating myself, and I did, that's when those 2 years I just dated myself, like took myself out on dates and all of that. But I wrote down, that's when I started getting serious. Okay, I actually do want to get married. And so I wrote it down on a piece of paper, exactly what I wanted in a mate. I wrote it down to the ethnicity, because there was a lot of thought behind the ethnicity. It wasn't because I'm racist any kind of way. I just, there was thought behind it. And down to the zodiac sign. And I ended up getting exactly what I wrote down to the zodiac sign and even ethnicity. And the picture on my vision board is exactly like the picture that he sent me the first week we were dating. I posted on my Facebook, but
Oh, nice.
yeah, it was insane. But my point is I knew that an Aries, because fire, was going to go well with air. And so, and look, you did it without knowing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Interesting.
Just back to that. Yeah. But
No, it's cool. It's totally cool. Like I get it. Like it's yeah, it's just one of those things I don't really pay attention to. Like I know what my sign is, and I knew Makara's a Libra, my daughter's a Gemini. She's hardcore. She's my mirror. She's 3.5, and Pippin's October 1st, so she may be a Libra as well.
October 1st? Libra.
Yeah. So I have 2 Libras in the house and a Gemini. My son's 27 March, so he's an Aries as well. Nope. Yeah, he's an Aries as well. So 2 Aries, and right? 27 March and April 19.
Yeah, I don't know the dates like that. See, I don't pay attention to the details of it. I pay attention more of the element of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's interesting.
yeah. So let me ask you this. It's something I'm
Go for
personally
it.
struggling with right now, because
Okay, go for it.
So I am struggling with, I make content. I make social media content for a company that sells franchises. And they hired me. This is one of my projects. I do a lot. But they hired me because of my ability to grab attention and keep it by connecting with the audience emotions. I think you can see I do that on my own Facebook. I'm really good at that. The reason why I'm so good at that is because I am able to see the big picture. So I look at just in every case scenario, I see the big picture. Because I'm so focused on the big picture, I lack, it's hard for me to see details. So I am struggling right now with, I have these great ideas, out of the box ideas that grab your attention and keep your attention with emotion. But you may think I'm unprofessional because there I am with misspelling the words, and it's not that I don't know how to spell win. Everyone knows how to spell win. It's the fact that I don't pay attention to detail because I don't care about detail. I noticed that it's like, because at some point in my head, I thought the big picture is the only thing that matters, and any detail under that is a waste of my time. I feel like I've created that for myself. So I'm struggling with being good at both. What do you?
So I think you said it yourself. So one of the things that I'd actually invite people who are listening to themselves rant about the things that they're struggling with.
Yeah.
The 30,000 foot views, the big picture is the most important thing to you.
Yeah.
And the details aren't. And that's completely okay. That's why I'm a demolition guy. Like I work ground level. Like that's what I do. I do like, what are we doing today? Okay, sweet. Here's my hammer. Let's go. Like that's my favorite stuff. Like I want to break in. What are we doing today? Like I'm very passionate about the details. I pay somebody else to do the 30,000 foot view. And when I write my emails, that's something you're similar. I'll be like reading it, be like, oh, this is so good. I'm a genius. This is the best freaking email I've ever written. And then I'll send it. And then after I send it, when it comes back to myself, and I'm like, oh shit, I misspelled that, or that auto-corrected that. When I read it 3 times, then I didn't even notice it because I'm so stuck in that. So from a content perspective, if I forget that stuff too, I have a VA that proofreads my stuff.
Yeah.
It costs $15 an hour. And I'm worth way more than $15 an hour. So I should be doing the other stuff anyways. And I can have somebody proofread it. So, and that's a new thing for me in the last couple months. By letting somebody else take part of my stuff.
Congratulations.
So I can stay in the thing that's most important to me.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times too, and I did this, one of my buddies, Brad Hardy's a big mastermind guy. And I was in his mastermind several years ago. And he was teaching me about business and all these things. And then he was a big fan of the wealth dynamics profile, which was just this, it was another personality thing that could help you as a tool, like astrology, right? And so one of the things that he taught us about this tool is that oftentimes Danette will find out that she's not good at the details. So she'll take a class about details. She'll hire a coach about details. She'll pour all these resources into things about details. And then she'll become an expert on the details. And she'll end up reverse engineering herself into this pigeonhole where now she's just working on details all the time, but it doesn't light her up. She's fantastic at it, or let's say she's really good at it, but she's not great at it because the big picture is what she's amazing at. So I would suggest, if you do not find, if it drags you down, if it takes you out of your flow, just enroll somebody to help you out. Yeah. And, jump off that cliff, because it's been amazing. It's ridiculous. My business has been doing pretty okay, but ever since I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and I gave it away for like a few extra bucks a month, and I can stay in the things like this fucking Facebook Live. This is what I'm good at. I have conversations with people. I talk about stuff. And and Lexi's saying, I just realized this too. She's going to hire out for marketing. Like, it's just like, there are people that are professionals out there at combing through your messaging and making sure you spell win correctly. It was just like you were saying on your video, you don't have a low IQ. You just have something that you're more powerful at. And, I wouldn't hire for you for editing ever. And that's just because I'm talking to you. I was like, I don't want Danette. I want Danette at the table, because one of the things that's really cool, if you think of it like a circle, like anything else, a circle, but like you, I imagine, live up in this North Pole area. You're very good at coming up with ideas. And then there's people that are very good at promoting those ideas. And then there's people that are very good at connecting those promoted ideas to the people who can start planting those ideas and growing it into something. Then there's people that are very good at watering those ideas and making sure, while Danette is still the top, coming up with new ideas, this thing, oh, it's growing? I had no idea because I have this new idea. And then there's some people that are very good at selling that idea to somebody. Then there's somebody very good. It's like, hey, we should probably save some of this portion of the idea to use next season. And then there's a person who's very good at actually harvesting the data and paying attention. It's like, oh, did you see that? The I in the win? It was an uppercase I on accident. When, because if you put a lowercase L and an uppercase I next to it, they're actually subtly different, even though they look really similar. So it's just one of those things. Like, find your wheelhouse and find a way for you to live in that as much as possible. The same exact way you decided to live in nature for 2 years, and just choose to and figure it out. And I think the more, and you're on a pedestal, so you deserve support. You deserve that. Again, all these stuff that you do, all these things you've said. And it's, I guess, I hope that helps. That's what I think.
No, I agree. I agree that I don't want to get up and turn a light on. So
no, it's totally fine. It's all good.
So I agree that it's important that we focus on what brings us fuel to our body. What what energizes us, what gives us energy. Whatever gives us energy, spend time doing that. Whatever takes away from your energy, get away from that. I agree. But I also believe that there's a point in that living or that philosophy where it is important to practice adaptation, even when you don't see the point, or even when you don't think you're good at it. So, for example, I could hire somebody to pay attention to the detail easily. I could also I could not adapt, I guess is what I'm saying. But instead, because I'm not used to adapting, I'm adapting to detail just to see how it is, just to see how good I could get at it. But yes, when it starts to deplete my energy, it's time to move on. But at this moment, so my point is, before you just pass it on, practice it, adapt first.
For sure.
I think
I've been writing my emails for years. I'm just done doing it. I'm just done doing it. I'm just done. And so, I think that's a really, really fantastical point too.
Yeah.
Because your clue, like I said earlier, and I could argue that diving into it is adapting just as much as it is hiring somebody. Because I hired two people. Yeah. So I think it's just different, but which one is going to serve you best? And I think it's super valuable to understand the mechanics of whatever the process is, and to understand like that stuff. I think that it really is. But there is also a space and time for, your highest world vision, or your personal legend, or whatever books you're subscribing to or reading. And no, I think that's really great. I think that's really great. So what do you want to do then, is what I would ask if you're struggling with the details. So what do you want to do?
I think you just said something really cool, was to understand the process of it. So I am trying to understand the process of paying attention to detail, just so I know what the hell it is you're doing when you pay attention to detail. Once I get that down, then I can hand it off. But that's exactly where I'm at right now. But that's not always easy. It makes you feel, the fact that you step in and allow yourself to know that you don't know what the heck you're doing, and that you're not good at something that you really want to be good at, it hurts. And
yes, it does.
But it's like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm doing this. Not only am I doing it, I'm doing it with such a positive attitude. It doesn't affect my worth or my value of myself. The fact that I can say, yes, I'm not good at detail, I suck at spelling and grammar and detail, doesn't mean I'm not any less smart or any less valuable. It's such an empowering feeling, and then still practicing on what you're not good at. Like,
can I give you a little exercise? And so again, let's bring us back down to the 3-dimensional world, right?
Yeah.
When you place yourself into those situations that take you out of your normal patterns, you wake up your creative brain here. You wake that up. So one of my favorite experiments to do, and I do this nearly every day, but because I'm doing it every day, I have to actually stop doing it. So I have a showering. You there? Like, I shower a certain way, right?
Okay.
I wash my hair, I leave it in, I wash my face, I rinse both those off.
Yeah.
I put conditioner in my hair, I wash my body, I rinse both those off. That's my standard habit.
Yeah.
So once or twice a week, I'll do it backwards. Or like, I normally put my wallet here, or my phone here, or I normally get dressed a certain way or tie my shoes a certain way. Like, so one of the things, if you really want to wake up that creative, more detail-oriented brain, go find all your mundane tasks and intentionally do them differently, and watch your brain freak out.
Yeah.
Because it'll think you're killing it, because that's all your brain knows. It knows I'm alive in my procedures and my predictions, or I'm dying in my chaos, right?
Yes.
And so I think so, like, if you know you got to go review something, like, go do a mundane task, but do it completely, backwards or the wrong way or something like that. And it really helps it really wakes up that creative part. Yeah. And then that can just become like your habit. So like, I take a walk with my girls in the freaking big ass stroller down this hill. And once we get to the bottom, I usually go clockwise, but then I'll, change it up, or I'll usually listen to audiobook, or on Mondays, there's this podcast that comes out. Well, I'm not going to listen to that, even though it's out. Like, it's out, right? It comes out in 4 hours, this podcast I usually listen to. I've been pushing it off intentionally to, like, stay in that creative space. but staying in the ground, like in the details, it's like my jam. So it's what I do.
Yeah.
So like just it's there's a lot of little things, especially just like, I don't know, if you go to fucking Jamba Juice and you always get a PB chocolate love, like order something different,
Mm-hmm.
like out of bounds different. And
Yeah.
that stuff, when you, if it's green, just like looking at it, if it's green instead of brown, you're gonna be like, uh-oh, you know, it really kind of shocks your system. And it that the creative part that usually that stopped making 90, it made 95% of your predictions by the time you're 18. It's on freaking permanent coffee break most of the time. So just like you're saying, so I love your example. Like, I'm going to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
It sparks it up. And again, just like the astrology, it's a very good general thing, but there's always an antithesis to it that's also true. So
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Cool.
that's thank you for that tip, because you're right. I always forget. It's easy to follow routine, as you know.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That reminds me, I want to share a quick little new tip that I've been doing lately, and it's been so much fun. I have been, so the very first thing in the morning, I am text messaging somebody. Right now it's my grandmother. Every morning, the very first thing I do is text message my grandmother, and I say, day one, for example, day one of appreciation for you. I appreciate our friendship. And so I'm doing that every day for 10 days per person. Right now it's my grandmother. In 10 days it's going to be someone new. In 10 days somebody new. And I'm getting such good results from people. People love it. It's starting their day off knowing how much they're appreciated. And it's also, even before I get into my gratitude practice in the morning, it's starting me off connecting with someone who I appreciate, and it's sharing my life with them. So it's been life changing. I just wanted to share that with our
No, I love that.
watching.
I do. You ever heard of Gala Darling?
No.
No, she's in some IG lady. I don't Instagram. I don't know who she is, but one of my former business partners follows her on Instagram, and she had like this $80 coaching thing that she joined, right? And as a surprise, it also came with a PDF of all the other people who enrolled for this thing. And you picked one person, and every single day for a year, they would send a voice message to this person saying, this is what I'm grateful for. This is my day as if it's already happened. And this is a year from now as if it's always happened. And so they were on this couple that was on the podcast. She ended up, during this year-long practice, she ended up getting cancer in her throat. And so through the process of this practice, they were like visualizing and saying, hey, you're going to be cancer free. You're going to go to your next appointment. It's going to be gone. You're going to get your treatment. It's going to totally wipe it out. And sure enough, it's all gone. It's completely wiped out. And so Gala Darling actually flew her. She lives in North Carolina. Her name's Courtney. And, there's, oh man, I'm just realizing all these cool connections. So Courtney flew out to visit Kimmy, who's my friend here in Hawaii. Gala Darling paid for it because of their cool story using this practice.
Yeah.
And then Courtney's boyfriend, Tyler, wants to be a coach. So Kimmy's like, Ryan, you got to come meet Tyler. Tyler and I now do this practice every day. We're like in month 4 of doing this practice but we do Marco Polo so we can see each other's face because it's super important to me.
Yeah.
And Tyler's girlfriend, Courtney, trains VAs. So a former client of mine who I worked with for a year was looking for something new. And like on our last day, I saw Kimmy put a post up about Courtney's VA course, VA Vixen. And so she's in there now, she's my VA. And so it's just all these things, the way that they just connect together is just like super cool. And it was all about this practice of gratitude. And it was really hard at first to be, because sometimes I remember the first time I did it, I sent this voice message, it was like 14 minutes long. I was like, oh shit, I got to find 14 minutes every day. But then it's like, what else do you fill in your 14 whole minutes with of your 24 hours? You can't find 14 minutes to be glad about things, you asshole. Like, why are you like, this? Come on, let's be really real. And so it's been like a really cool thing in the way that we've allowed that to evolve and kind of change. And he's in North Carolina, so I wake up and his message is always there. It's like 6 minutes, they're 6 hours old usually. And so then I shoot his back. So then in the middle of the day when he might have already forgot about it. Oh, and then when you get the other person's message, you up level theirs and send like all the fuck yeah about like all the stuff that you heard. And tips and like the shower trick and like your tip about the 10 messages is like, oh, let's up level this. You could do this even faster if you thought about boom, 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 and just like back and forth. And so we're going to do that in my Facebook group next month. Do that same thing for 30 days. Cool. We're doing that. So I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah. Such a good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But again, it's just like all those things that are connected. And I have no idea. Me and you are going to collaborate on something in the future. I don't know what it is yet, but I can already feel it's going to happen. So I'm really stoked about that. So
yeah, me too, Ryan. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, man. I'm so happy.
This is rad. Yeah.
Thank you to the people that canceled.
Yeah. Thank you, people who canceled.
Yeah.
You don't get names.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Exactly.
Right
All
on.
right. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. I'll see you when I see you.
Okay. See you around.
Right on. See you. Peace.